What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to a new episode of The Retro Gamers. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for downloading and listening wherever you listen to podcasts. Larry here.
And Anthony here.
What's going on, Ant?
Oh, it's November. It's Los Angeles. It's starting to get cold here.
Here in New York, it got blistering cold overnight.
How cold was it?
It was so cold. No, it just went from it was 80 degrees, like Halloween, and then went down to 50 November 1st.
Nice.
Like the calendar changed, and God was like, nope, got to turn off the heater.
I know. Well, it's getting particularly painful over here. I think last night it may have dropped to 60. Oh. So, I mean, we're talking light jacket weather here. I mean, that's unheard of in November.
That's a frost warning over there in L.A.
I know. I wouldn't be surprised if they start closing freeways.
No, it's been the last couple of days, been 48, 49 degrees in the morning.
Ooh.
And
all right. Well, winter is upon you.
Listen, I have no problem with it. What happens is every time the drastic change in weather going into and out of winter always knocks me on my butt. I get sick each and every time. Very annoying.
Yeah, I don't miss that. I used to get sick all the time when I lived in New York too. Here though, what happens is the high becomes somewhere in the low 60s, and everybody's running around in what would be considered pretty much almost winter wear in New York. I go, and I'm the only person outside in a short sleeve shirt.
Yeah, I got to break out the jacket, and the wind yesterday being Friday, the 10th of November. From this recording, yesterday, the wind, I really thought I was waiting for a tornado to blow through the parking lot of where I work. I almost got knocked over. That's how windy it was. It was ridiculous.
All right. Well, I'm secretly hoping that the weather there at least stays pseudo-warm because I have a visit coming up.
You do.
I have a visit 1 week from this episode, actually.
Oh, my gosh. So, that means a week from this episode, I'm getting ready to fly out. Yeah, epic timing. You're coming in, and I'm getting ready to head out.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're allowed to be in the same place at the same time. I think after August, going to that convention, I think there was some law passed. But I will be there. I will be there for Turkey Week.
Nice. Ooh, I love Turkey Day.
Turkey Week, and it better be warm because I have a 2.5 mile walk to do in Manhattan.
Oh, you doing a walk?
Yes,
okay.
I am going to be a balloon handler in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
What? Wait a minute. This is the first I'm hearing of this. How'd that happen?
Oh, you didn't know?
No.
Oh, I thought I told you this already.
Thank you. No, you haven't. And this is the God honest truth. This is the first I'm hearing of this.
Yeah, no. I've known for a couple months now.
Oh, I would hope so. Oh, wait a minute. Months? Is this because I didn't tell you about the Super NES pre-order?
Oh, yeah, it absolutely is. So that works. No, So the company I am working for is debuting a balloon in the parade this year.
Wow.
And Macy's was kind enough to offer our company or the employees in our company the opportunity to be a balloon handler in the parade for our balloon. So I volunteered because I knew I was going to be in New York anyway, and you have to pay your own way to go to New York. So
okay.
So I will be a balloon handler in the parade. So I will be walking the parade.
That is awesome.
Yep. Not only that, my sister's going to be doing it with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I asked if there was room for anybody else, and they said, "Yeah, sure." And so, so my older sister will be.
Shit! Oh, that's going to be awesome.
My younger sister would have done it, but the first words out of her mouth when I offered it to her was, she's like, "What does it pay?" And I'm like, "It does." And I told her, I was like, "It doesn't pay anything," and she's like, no. If it paid something, I would do it. And I'm like, I go, "Are you kidding?" I go, "It's like a once in a lifetime kind of thing."
That is not shocking.
Thanksgiving Day parade. So So yeah, needless to say, she's not doing it. My older sister's doing it with me. A couple of my coworkers are flying out to do it as well.
Okay.
So so it'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome! Congratulations! Can't wait to watch.
Well, they don't really show the balloon handlers on TV.
But no, it's not like you're going to be featured. But you get a glimpse. You can catch it.
Yep. Well, I figure what I'll do is like when they're showcasing the balloon I'm flying on TV, what I'll do is I'll be the one to let go of my rope and throw it up in the air.
There you go. Just make sure it doesn't hit into any light poles or anything. Remember a few years ago, like every balloon hit every light pole.
Oh, I thought that was the goal.
Took them all down.
Oh, okay.
It's like slalom.
Well, that would just take away all my fun.
Do you have to dress in some weird costume?
I do have to wear something, but it's not really a weird costume.
Oh, okay.
They don't really. I don't think they allow costumes.
No, I thought like they would have all of you dressed. Sometimes I see some handlers have to get into like everyone has to match.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, everybody has to match, and then we're all wearing one of those. I forget what they call those board. Those the things that they put over the outfit.
A sandwich board.
Well, no, yeah, but it's like a soft material. It's
okay.
Like a fabric. But they have one of those that goes over.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Like,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that has like a design on it relative to the balloon.
Yeah.
So, so I'll have that and probably like 10 layers of jackets underneath.
All right,
depending
cool.
on
Excellent. Well, good luck with that. It sounds like that's
None
honestly
of this, by
sounds
the
like
way,
fun.
is retro game related.
That doesn't matter. Who cares? We're introing the show right now.
That's very true. Although maybe they, you know what? I mean, they've made video games based on like walking around Universal Studios and Disneyland. How come nobody made a game about walking the Thanksgiving Day Parade? Like, can you imagine?
The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, the game.
Exactly.
Taking advantage of that Xbox One X graphics.
Oh, yeah. Oh, can you imagine how realistic the balloons would look if they're coming at you?
Everyone has to sign a waiver because now you're in a game.
Well, and think about it. You've got it's 91 years of legacy. Like you can unlock like balloons from the first parade. And all right, I'm putting too much thought into this. Moving on.
Awesome. Well, that's going to be fun. Also, everyone tune in Thanksgiving, and then
so I want everybody to tune into the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade so that by happenstance, if my face shows up on TV, you may see me for about half a second.
Yes, and then you can switch back and watch the March of the Wooden Soldiers.
Yes, because that that's actually
the movie's awesome. That's usually what I watch on Thanksgiving. Sorry, Macy's.
Hey,
listen, I used to watch King Kong and then King Kong vs. Godzilla, but they stopped showing those.
Aw, bummer.
I'm going to be
Soldiers. Awesome.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to be 32,000 feet in the air on Thanksgiving.
Oh, you're actually flying on Thanksgiving?
We are. Yeah, we're going down to Florida for a wedding, and right. It turns out that is a very, very inexpensive to fly on Thanksgiving. So
yes, it is.
It's like
the best. Yeah, I mean the best days to fly during holidays are on the actual holidays.
Yep. So we're flying out at night, Thursday night. So me and my parents.
You're leaving Thursday night. I may see you before that.
Oh no, we could probably not Thanksgiving, but because you're gonna be busy in the morning. But yeah, we'll probably get together the day before. We'll figure this out in post.
Yeah, yes, we will, and maybe we can do a live podcast on Tuesday the 21st.
That's what I'm thinking. So, all right, cool. And but to get back, because I know you like to stick with the retro. It is a retro podcast.
It is the crux of our actual podcast. it's why people listen.
Yes, and watch. Did a real quick. Just mention it last week. By the time this drops, I did a live stream. It was my turn to live stream for the thankfulness. I don't even know what we call in it. November
games we're thankful for.
Yeah, but like a fancy title or whatever.
Okay.
So I played.
Giving thanks to games.
There you go. All right, that works. So my turn was up, and I'm very thankful for the Super Mario Brothers series because, in my opinion, without it, we wouldn't. I don't think the gaming landscape would be what it is today. In my opinion, and I'm not taking anything away from Atari or Coleco, anything that came before Nintendo. But
Mario Brothers started on Atari, so
true. But like Super Mario Brothers, that game defined. That was the first game I played. That set the course for me. So yesterday, I was going to do Super Mario Brothers 3, but I've done a lot of NES gameplays, so I figured I'd go live with Super Mario World, and I figured I'd play every level, hit every board. Unlock even the multiple branching, like the ones that have the keys and stuff.
Yep.
Quickly, I forgot and then quickly realized how daunting of a game Super Mario World is, and that you can't just blow through it.
No, you can't.
No, so I learned that quickly. But I ended up playing for like 2 hours. It was a good time. People watching. I want to thank everyone who watched, everyone who shared. Me and Ant want to thank that as well. And it was just a fun time. It's been a long time since I really sat down and played Super Mario World. And so we're continuing our gameplay with us, Victims and Villains, the PS Midnight Cast. I don't remember who's up next.
I believe it is my turn.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because then I think Brandon's taking it the Thanksgiving week.
Yes. So I'm up next, and I'll probably I've already had mine picked out for a while, because I mean, everybody knows the games I'm probably most thankful for at this point, because I never shut up about the Legend of Zelda. So I'm going to be hitting up Legend of Zelda next week.
Awesome.
Or this week, I should say.
Awesome.
And I'm talking about the original NES version.
Ooh, nice.
Which is the one that I always like that I'm confident that I can plow through in one sitting.
You can, yes. I think you can, certainly.
Yes. It's funny, because when I play that game, I always get to I can plow through the first 7 levels without issue. Like, I remember them like the back of my hand. I got them down. It's always when I get to 8 and 9 that I get a little lost. And I don't know why I can't remember I can't remember the maps for those in my head, but the first 7, no problem. I know my way through. But it's those last 2 I can never memorize. I don't know why.
It's like a phone number. There's a reason why phone numbers are 7 digits. Is because the human brain can really, that 7 digits is like the most that they can, like, the brain can remember on a regular basis.
Yeah, but if you remember a few years ago, we had to start using the area codes in every number, so when you dial. So now you have to remember 10, and it's a little more daunting.
Actually, you don't have to remember any nowadays, thanks to cell phones.
Well, that's very true, also. But I still like to be a little old school and try and remember as many numbers as I can. Hey, because you know what? Especially with the way people break their damn phones.
I like to be old school. Please dial KL53226.
Hey, you know what? If I could do that, I would. And if I could have a rotary phone and contact a switchboard, I would do that as well. Oh my God, that would be awesome. Rotary
you know what?
phone, the retro game.
You know what? Maybe you can start one on Kickstarter.
Well, all that makes me think of, though, is that really, really horrible Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure game on the NES, when you would actually have to dial numbers to go back in time, and then you would go through the time circuits, and it was a terrible game.
Horrible.
And you spent the entire time in that game literally jumping into things and falling on your ass in hopes of finding something.
That's really I think that was the word for word. That was in the instructions.
Yeah, that was the goal of the game. Your goal is to jump and crash into things until you find the items you're looking for.
I'm wondering why it never came out on Virtual Console.
I have no idea, but I do own the original cartridge.
Do you?
Yes.
Nice.
With the instruction booklet.
Oh, man. Sweet.
I know. It's probably worth all of 3 cents.
Hey, listen. That's 3 cents well spent.
That is 3 cents. In fact, I'm sure, well, if I had my phone next to me, I would look it up on my my CLZ Game Collector app that I bought and downloaded, which, by the way, is awesome.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. Just an update on this. I mentioned it probably a few weeks ago. It's a $15 app to download, and you can basically put in your entire collection of video games, and you can scan barcodes to automatically look them up, or you can just do a simple search. And when you do and then it displays like the cover art for the game, and then it obviously tells you what console it's on, but then it also tells you how much the game is worth, either loose, complete in box, or brand new. So it's really awesome. I already put like my entire NES collection in there just to see, and I think I've got like 130 or 140 games in there already. And it's just fantastic, because now when I go retro shopping, I know what I own. There's no more guessing of, oh wait, did I buy this already? As stated by, like, I have a couple of games that I have dupes of, because I completely forgot when I went shopping that I already had them. So it's definitely an awesome app. Really happy with it. And not only do they have video games, but you can do it. You can download a version for DVDs. You can download a version for books, I think.
Okay.
You can definitely download a version for comic books, because that's going to be the next one I buy, because I have a couple thousand comic books that I need to catalog. So But yeah, it's a great app, especially if you're any retro game collectors out there or just game collectors in general. It's a really cool app to have on hand.
No, definitely. I kind of do that, but I catalog. Well, at least I catalog my physical discs on Excel, but it's very time consuming. So I'd rather just scan and go.
And not only that, you just recently started really collecting retro games again.
Yeah, absolutely, because of this podcast.
Yeah, and I see a stack of them there in the background.
Yep, some NES ones.
So you may get to a point where CLZ games will be worth your investment.
Oh, absolutely. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely.
But one of the things I actually wanted to bring up when we started this podcast, I know we talked about it before we went on, and as always, we go off on tangents, is that
letting the world know who we are.
I know. But a few weeks ago, we were talking about these classic consoles and whether or not we're getting into an overload.
Mm-hmm.
But based on consumer demand, it's perfectly plausible that these things are just going to keep coming out. Case in point, on the website, on the app Woot this week. I don't know if anybody knows what it is, but Woot is it's one of those sites that you go on where they sell things they just sell random things that are inexpensive, and they had the NES Classic on there this week, or last week I should say, and as soon as it went on sale, it was sold out because I'm sure all the bots got them, because I literally clicked it the second it told me it was on sale, which was 3 p.m. Pacific, and it literally started loading and took a while, and then went to the page oops, sorry, the site crashed, and I'm and every time I kept doing it, and it was done within minutes.
Real quick, I know you're going to tell the rest of it. I just want to I was thinking about that because the bots, I just think it was just a poor app, because it was only available on the Woot app, not on the Woot website.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised though if people had mobile.
I didn't think they were available.
Bots.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. People can hack into anything they want these days.
This is true. But did you try? Did you try and get the game?
Oh no, I absolutely did. But I'm not kidding you. It was sold out in minutes.
Minutes, literally seconds.
Minutes.
Hello, Link.
That's Link.
Completely disinterested in this show.
Right, Link is my cat. So guess why I named him. But anyway, getting back to it, obviously these classic consoles are in demand, and we're starting to see more and more. Not only are we starting to see the major companies, coming out with them, we're starting to see some of the lesser known, the C6, the Commodore 64 Mini that we talked about a couple weeks ago. But now, not only are companies developing them, but now people are going to Kickstarter to raise money to make them. So. When I was on, we had originally talked about the Atari box, and Atari, the game company Atari, actually decided that they want to make a retro console called the Atari box, which they also said was retro and modern gaming. So I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, but they did say that it was going to play retro games. But they're only going to make it if they raise enough money on Kickstarter,
which makes sense.
So now they're turning right. And then today, while I was researching some stuff for our show, I came across another Kickstarter campaign that's already reached its goal 3 times over, for the ZX Spectrum.
Yeah, you sent me the link on it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the ZX Spectrum is, it was one of those computer gaming systems from the 80s, and somebody decided, we're gonna do the ZX Spectrum next. They're calling it, and it's gonna be. It's going to be that original console, just update, so you can play it now. And if you look at the list of games for this console, I'll call it a console for the hell of it. But because back then it was just a computer. But oh wait, let me go through the specs really quickly, because I love I love reading specs on these old systems, even though they're making new ones. So the processor on it is going to be 3.5 megahertz,
nice,
or 7 megahertz in the modes, which is fine. But the memory is always my favorite. So the memory that comes with it is 512 kilobytes of RAM.
Ooh, kilobytes,
not megabytes, not megabytes. We're not even a gigabyte, right? 512 kilobytes of RAM, because that's all. That's actually all it needs to run. And you can expand it to 1.5 or 2.5 megabytes.
Oh man, now we're playing with power.
Absolutely. And then, of course, the video is going to have 256 color mode, output RGB, VGA, and HDMI.
Nice.
It'll have, it'll obviously have audio, joystick. It's going to have a mouse port, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
So it's also going to be equipped with Wi-Fi.
Very good. Oh my god, a PS2 mouse port. I haven't seen those in years.
Yes, I know.
Like a PS/2, not a PlayStation 2. If anyone remembers,
right? PS/2.
Yeah.
Mouse port. So just really cool. And when you think about it, it's like, what can we do with what can you do with a ZX Spectrum next? This the system had almost 1,700 titles.
Wow, really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes. So, dating all the way back from 1982 when it first came out to when did it stop, basically? Around 1993. So
that's a heck of a lifetime.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about 11 years worth of stuff on this. And, a lot of the games are games like, games that that came out for other systems, like 1942, 1943, Addams Family, Action Force, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Note how I'm going alphabetically because that's what my list has. Here's an interesting one that I want. California games. Here's one that you should appreciate. There's a game called Butch Hard Guy.
I'm not going to appreciate it. My dad will appreciate it.
I was just going to say, I think maybe you should buy this for your dad for Christmas. Captain Planet and the Planeteers.
Really?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Captain America in the Doom Tube of Dr. Megaloman.
That is a very long title.
Yes. Cauldron 2, The Pumpkin Strikes Back.
The Pumpkin Spice.
But just like a whole bunch. Oh, okay. Choi Lee Fut Kung Fu Warrior.
Sure.
Or is it Choi Lee Foot? I don't know. Or Foot. But just like, point is, Danger Mouse in Double Trouble.
Ooh, I remember Danger Mouse.
Or something that concerns me a little bit more, Danger Mouse in Making Whoopee.
Oh boy, now we're talking, folks. That's worth the price of Kickstarter alone.
But anyway, Dragon's Lair, of course. I'm just looking at all these different games. Yeah. Double Dragon 1, 2, and 3. Double Dare.
Good gravy.
The game. Yeah. So the ZX Spectrum Next is up on Kickstarter, and granted, it's not cheap.
No, what I mean? Not at all.
It's not. We're not talking $50-$60 like for a classic console. If you want the actual computer, because it's a computer, it's the minimal pledge for the full system is £165.
Yeah, that I was looking at it when you sent me the link. I'm looking at the pledges and the rewards. So I'm like, all right, $1, and it's all in pounds. British pounds, $1. You just kind of give them some support. That's cool. And then the next pledge amount is £99. So it just jumps straight up, and that's just for the motherboard. So you're right. And those are pounds. So converted to the US dollar, it's going to be a whole lot more.
Right. And the £165, by the way, is no longer available. That was an early bird special. Now you got to pay the $175, which is only an extra £10. So it's not that bad.
I've been trying to drop.
But still. But its estimated delivery is in January 2018, so at least it's coming out soon.
Okay.
So if you buy it, you'll get it soon. Unlike, sometimes there are other Kickstarters, like here's a perfect example. I backed a Kickstarter, I want to say almost 2 years ago, for The Seventh Guest Part 3. There was a fan site that started developing a sequel to The Seventh Guest. Or the 11th Hour at that point, because there were two games in that series, and those were Seventh Guest was one of my favorite
classic
games at the time. And I pledged an amount for a copy of the game. It's 2 years later; they're still working on the game.
Yeah, I mean, but at least hopefully they're still working on it. But
they every once in a while, like every few months, they put an update on their page.
All right, at least
so it's like they keep saying they're working on it, but it's like. It was something that was supposed to have come out already, and they're at least a year behind. So it's like one of those things. Like when you do a Kickstarter, it's like you do run that risk of like you're pledging for it. When it reaches it, they have to, by law, they have to deliver it to you. That's the whole point of the Kickstarter thing. or refund you?
No, I got news for you. To be honest with you, it's
Serious?
really there's a lot of Kickstarters that make the goal, but then just things fall apart. There was one. What was it? Of course, I can't remember it now. I think it was either like this like new kind of like multi credit card type thing. Or yeah, that's what it was. It was like a multi-credit card. Basically, you just load all your credit cards onto one card, and then you can change through it and use the cards however you like. So this Kickstarter did it. I didn't back this one, luckily, because I've backed others. So they hit the money, they hit their goal, they blew past their goal, and they were going through the process. They were giving updates. They were going through the process, and then you just get this, because I was still on the mailing list. And then you get this one update going, sorry, at this point, we can't move any further, and, we're shutting down production, we're going bankrupt. But that's it. Your money's gone.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, so there's no guarantee. That's the kind of the deal with Kickstarter, because that's like an investment. Kickstarter's an investment, and you may not always get a return back on your investment.
Very true, very true. Okay, well, that makes a good point. And just makes me worried that I'll never get my seventh guest part 3.
Well, if they're still giving updates, that's hope.
Yes. Well, no, I mean it's going to happen because at this point, like they've already recorded all of the full motion video scenes for it, and they're actually making it to look like the old seventh guest game from the early 90s.
Cool.
So in other words, so it's going to be like in true retro form.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that. But
That's sweet.
but the ZX Spectrum next, like I'm not gonna lie, I'm tempted.
It looks beautiful. I mean,
no, it looks really cool. The only problem I have with it is, I believe after you get it, I think then you have to go hunt down games.
Well, yeah, it's really just, it's kind of like the Commodore 64 Mini. No, what I'm saying is, it looks like it's really just the keyboard, and everything runs from the keyboard.
Yes. And there's an SD card slot on it, so I'm assuming if you wanted to go that route, you can get games that way.
Oh yeah.
There's we added it says here they added the option to add a Raspberry Pi Zero.
I was just looking at that. Okay.
So I mean, obviously the opportunities are there, but just being able to get the actual Spectrum Next is just, it's intriguing. It's intriguing to me.
No, it's definitely interesting. I kind of like how you keep scrolling down on the Kickstarter page and you see the part where they had the 3D test mock-ups of the case. Yep. I really thought those were chocolate.
Well, maybe they are.
If that's a reward, I'm in.
You're in? You're definitely in?
A chocolate ZX
well,
Spectrum.
Actually, you know what? Did this thing end? I think it may have ended.
I can't tell. I think it did end because all it is you hit the portal and you can share it. You can't bid on it. You can't.
No, yeah, you definitely can't. So
at
this point now, you just need to wait for it to come out so you can buy it.
You can go, if you go to, and we'll put this on the link, specnext.com, SPECNEXT.com is a link from the Kickstarter page. You can, that's their official website. That's where you'll get a lot more updates. And probably click the shop button. You can buy it from the shop. Yeah.
It's currently out of stock, which is understandable. So
okay.
So they're gonna. Yep. So only Kickstarter orders ship in January, and then after that,
fair enough,
it becomes available again to regular people. But anyway, so I just wanted to bring this up because I feel like we're going to start seeing more and more retro consoles being released, and this is one that just caught my eye because I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm like, it's kind of Commodore 64 like. With a ton of games from the 80s that I used to love to play. So anybody out there listening who's a ZX Spectrum lover may want to go check that out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we'll put the links down there. And there's some other, not just these consoles that are either on Kickstarter, were on Kickstarter, coming to Kickstarter. The modern consoles are starting to kick into it too. Though, before I get into that, actually, just it slipped my mind for a second. There's this other Kickstarter, which is actually, this one's over as well. Dang it! It was Project.
What was it?
Project Hubbard. the official Ron Hubbard Kickstarter. Ron Hubbard.
Yes.
Yep.
I did see that one as well.
He's done a lot of stuff as far as like composition, music to a lot of video games, a lot of the old video games and stuff like that. And they had a Kickstarter that, again, this is all over in Britain. They're the ones running all this stuff. They had a really cool. Not only theirs was so elaborate. Not only can you get books, you can get CDs, you can get games to it, like not N64, Commodore 64 games and stuff.
Yes.
It was nuts. In fact, they have a dedicated website separate from Kickstarter where you can purchase a lot of this Project Hubbard items. But this whole retro, you know what I love about the retro? I love how also a lot of people are trying to make like newer games onto an older console. Like you sent me a link here about the Resident Evil someone made for the Mega Drive.
Well, somebody started, like, they just sent an example of what Resident Evil could look like for the Sega Master System, basically.
Yeah.
Was it Master System or Genesis? Sorry.
The Mega Drive was Genesis, yes.
Yeah, so a Genesis, so a 16-bit version of Resident Evil, and to be honest with you, it looks pretty cool. Like I would have definitely played that.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, so what I love about it is that gamers themselves are now taking it upon themselves because it's become a lot easier to create video games.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to things like Unity and the Unreal Engine that's out there that you can download. Which, by the way, the Unreal Engine, if anybody out there is ever interested in developing their own video games and they really want to put the time into it, the Unreal Engine, you can download it for free.
Really?
Unreal Engine is free, and you can develop your game. You can develop as many games as you want on it, but once you clear, once you sell $3,000 worth of your game. So if you put it up on Steam or whatever it is, the minute you make $3,000, they get 5% of everything over that.
Okay.
Which is amazing when you think about it, because I mean, even 5%. If your game is like a huge hit and you sell like 100,000 copies, they only get 5% of the sales, which is kind of awesome. I mean, granted, a lot of people will make games and post them for like $1 or something like that.
Yeah, that's where the problem's going to lie. But that's still, hey, listen, they're entitled.
Yeah, but the fact that they offer their software for free is like something you don't necessarily hear of. So if anybody out there is wondering, it's like I have a great idea for a game and I want to make it. Check out Unreal Engine because it's free software to download and make your game. And most game, a lot of games that you play today were made with the Unreal Engine. Case in point, Dead by Daylight.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's an Unreal game.
Oh wow!
It was built on the Unreal Engine. I'm not sure. I almost want to say that the Friday the 13th game that I'm obsessed with right now was Unreal Engine. Not 100% sure on that one though.
Yeah, it's always hard to tell. Well, not hard to tell. Yeah. You can look at the back of the box or look into it.
Usually they always carry the logo.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that Unreal Engine's really cool. And I've had an idea for a game for a while.
Oh, okay.
But I don't have the time to sit down and actually learn the program and do it. So, but it would be nice one day when when I'm gainfully unemployed to sit down and make a video game.
One day, down the road. No worry.
Right when I retire and there's no such thing as video games anymore.
Yeah, everything's all superimposed in our minds.
Yeah, more or less. But to your point, what you were talking about with people making retro games and whatnot, the current consoles, and this is a gripe I've had since PS3, and in fact, it's one of the main reasons why to this day I still don't own a PS3. But it's when Sony decided that they didn't want to make their systems backwards compatible anymore, and I always had an issue with that because I would invest all this money in games for systems, and especially when it went to disc. Spend all this money on games for discs that couldn't be played on newer systems.
Yeah, I agree with you there, or at least I did agree with you for a while. And then at one point I'm thinking to myself, like back in the day, you got a Super Nintendo, you couldn't play NES games on it. So like I kind of got over that wanting to backwards compatible, but to see what they can do with backwards compatible, just the ease of having the one system, playing everything on it, or hopefully one day playing everything on it. You're right. That's where it really, it really came to be as far as the ease and the want of having backwards compatible games and backwards compatible systems.
Right. And I agree with you. Like, when we were kids, you couldn't do that with our old systems, but once PlayStation started offering it with the PS2. Yes. Like when PS2 came out and said, hey, guess what? All the original PlayStation games will work on the PS2. It's like you open a door that you can't close. True. So once you offer that to consumers, it kind of, it sucks when you take it away. So, having been used to it, especially on between PS2 and then Xbox 360 did it for, their Xbox games. Yep. At that point, I felt like there was no turning back from that. Mm-hmm. But then PS3, the very first generation PS3 was backwards compatible, but then they cut it because it was too expensive.
Yeah, there's got to be something to it. There's got to be. I mean, it's an emulator.
Well, no, it came down to cost.
Yeah. No. I'm saying
it ultimately came down to cost.
What I'm saying is, to us, we don't create the systems, we don't make games, but to us, it's like, it's probably just a code or something you got to put in, flip a switch, if you will, to play the backwards compatible games. But I'm sure there's like I don't know if there's other motherboards involved or something like, not a motherboard, but
it could be a chip or something like
that.
Right. But now that everything is digital, like especially with the PS3 and the 360 and everything's digital, all it really requires at this point, I think, is a firmware upgrade that allows it to, and again, it's all coding. It's all like somebody has to write all this stuff and make them available. That's why, like, when Xbox One announced recently that original Xbox games are going to be backwards compatible, it was only like a dozen games because
for now,
again, they have to write something for each one to make it accessible. So, and I believe we have a list of those.
We do.
12 games.
13.
13 games. I'm sorry, 13 games, and it's a very strange list. Like some of them are obvious, and then other ones are like, huh, I don't get it.
I've always thought that even with the Xbox One backwards compatible with 360 games, like it was just some weird ones that got picked.
Well, yeah, I always want to know. I'm like, who's picking these games?
Well, I'm sure it's Microsoft and also the original companies because they have a say in it, obviously, as well.
Very true. And obviously it should always be like some of the most popular ones.
Yeah. And what I didn't realize at first that I'm reading here now is that with these 13 games, the original Xbox games, you can play on the Xbox One, Xbox One S, and Xbox One X, the games will feature higher resolution and in some cases faster frame rate. Higher frame rate, I should say. That I didn't realize that. That's pretty cool.
Well, because what happens is when you put the disc in the system, you're not really playing it off the original disc. You're downloading the game, and I'm sure like when they had to go back and make these available for the Xbox One, they're able to play around with the graphics and things like that.
Yeah, and the Xbox. Let's try that again. The original Xbox lineup for backwards compatibility is going to be way less than the 360 because of age. Because of probably like the want and the need for some of these games, so it's not going to be as prolific as it will be with the 360 was.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. And to be honest with you, I'm looking forward to more original Xbox games coming out on the Xbox One specifically. So I don't have to go out and buy the original Xbox again because I'm out of room.
Oh, great. So let's go through the list. It's 13 games here. I'm going to kind of go out of order because the one I think I'm going to try and save like what in my opinion, I think hopefully in yours, hopefully I'll be able to speak for you, is some of the more popular games. So like kind of the weird one, Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
Yeah, the minute I saw that one, I'm like, why?
The King of Fighters Neo Wave, good fighter, but I guess maybe that was the only one on Xbox. I don't remember too much.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, King of Fighters has been around for like 20
fantastic.
years. So.
Absolutely. Blood Rain 2. I remember the first Blood Rain. That was a great one. Sid Meier's Pirates,
which is a fun game.
Yes. And then actually, I played a little bit of Pirates. I never really played the whole like a full gameplay.
No, I never went through the whole game, but I remember it was really fun.
Actually, you know what? Now that I say it, it's really this list is more better games. than not. Black,
Yes,
which was a fantastic shoot 'em up.
Yes.
First-person shooter where Black, I remember that was like the first game where you could pretty much like destroy the environment, like knock down walls and stuff. It was
which
great.
is awesome for you first-person shooter
Absolutely.
lovers, which is not me.
Dead to Rights. I never really played that one that much.
I never played that either, but I heard good things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Psychonauts. That was a weird game.
It was a weird game, but it was a fun one.
Weird good. Yeah, weird good.
Yeah, weird good.
Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time.
Yes, the Prince of Persia games have just been... They're pretty solid games to play. Like, I kind of put them in the Tomb Raider-like category with a little more action.
I can see that. And The Sands of Time was, I think, really their first foray into that new generation at the time with the Xbox, the original Xbox.
Yes, agreed.
Fusion Frenzy, which was I never really played it that much. It was an Xbox, like it was only on Xbox. It was a party game. I think it was Microsoft's version of Mario Party as far as the mini games are concerned.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
With no mascot characters.
No, but what I love about Fusion Frenzy is the box art, which really reminds me of American Gladiators. Remember those giant spheres that they had to roll around in? That's pretty much the cover art. Yeah, it's a party game, 45 different mini games. So.
Oh, I might have to go pick that up now.
I may have to now that it's available.
I love games with mini games.
Crimson Skies, High Road to Revenge, fantastic flying airplane game.
That's all you.
Yep. Ninja Gaiden Black.
Yes, that was a great game.
That was. And
that I enjoyed a lot.
This is the game I absolutely loved on Xbox, and I'm so happy that I still have it. I will plan on playing it on the Xbox One. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Ah, yes.
Fantastic.
Star Wars games are, most modern Star Wars games, and I say modern, I mean everything after 2000, have been pretty solid.
But this one was had that different gameplay because this was like the first game, and they've had games like this before, where you'd go up, you'd talk to someone, they would give you a tip or a message, and then your response, you had like 3 different responses, and whatever you responded to, that's how the course of the game would go, and it could branch hundreds of different ways.
Yeah, I love games that give you that choice and to make you go in different directions because
you can even choose.
It's replayability.
Oh, absolutely, and you can choose between like light and dark side by the time you're done with the game. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, there's that too, which is kind of awesome.
So Xbox, Microsoft, I should say, they recognize the history of gaming. I know they always give, PlayStation, they give Sony some garbage about not being backwards compatible because Sony said, they're just not planning backwards capability in this fashion. You can purchase PS2 games and PS1 games on the PS3 and PS4 respectively, but it's not like they're planning where you can put the disc in and play. So Microsoft, they've got the leg up on that.
Yeah, I agree. So anybody who has that old library now, and they have an Xbox One, hopefully sooner rather than later, they can cash in on that, and play some old games again.
No, absolutely. And let's not leave it out. Nintendo, they've done good with backwards capability. The Wii was backwards compatible with the GameCube.
And the Virtual Console. Even
absolutely.
though it's not. They always make sure you buy Super Mario Brothers like 100 times.
I own it so many different copies. But I'm talking about having like the physical copy. Obviously, they couldn't do it with the cartridges. Yes. They did do it with the disc, but they always showed that. Like with the Wii U, played the Wii games. The Wii games played the GameCube games. Obviously, the Switch, different format. But even on the handhelds, the Game Boy Advance played all the old Game Boy games. The 3DS, 2DS play all the DS games. So I think, would you say that because of that, like how Nintendo kind of usually made their systems to the hardware? Like who's doing the better backwards capability, Nintendo was or Microsoft? Or even Sony during the day?
Yeah, I don't know. You have to argue that. Originally, I would say Nintendo and Sony were doing it the best because when PS2 came out when the Dreamcast and basically around the time the Dreamcast and the Xbox were coming out, right? Mm-hmm. That was that generation.
Yeah.
And of that generation, PS2 was the only one that had a backwards compatible library.
Very true.
Microsoft Xbox was, that was their first system. And then Dreamcast had gone from, at that point, the Jaguar.
Okay.
No, not the Jaguar. Sorry. No, my brain's not working. The Sega CD.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't backwards compatible for that because the Sega CD was a special little system. So I feel like Sony may have the leg up in terms of console because it took Nintendo forever to go to disc, and that was GameCube.
Yeah.
Handheld wise, Nintendo had it hands down from the Game Boy Advance on.
Yeah, no, they did it handheld wise. You're right. I think they did it real good. So, all right, well, we'll see.
Then again, they're the only ones that have multiple generations of handhelds. Really,
very true. Yeah, their success in handhelds is tremendous.
They practically own the market. I mean, Grant, you have your PSP and your PlayStation Vita, but that's really it.
Yeah, you're right. There's really nothing. Well, because I guess everything's going to cell phones now, but.
Well, everything's going mobile, but at the same time, I just don't think anybody wants to challenge Nintendo's handheld market.
No, not at all. Why fight the king?
Exactly.
So we'll see what Microsoft has to offer in the future. This is the 13, first set of games. Hopefully there'll be some more. Hopefully we'll get some bigger games. Just real quick, right off the top of your head, what are probably some of the Xbox games on original Xbox you would like to see available on the Xbox One?
Ooh, that's a really good question, and I don't know if I have an answer to you right away.
Okay, fair enough.
The games. Obviously, the games that I remember are like the WWF Raw and Raw 2 on Xbox, which I absolutely loved. I'm trying to think. That was PlayStation 2. I was trying to think what I played Devil May Cry on. But the Devil May Cry series is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd really need, because we're so far along in friggin' generations, it's like Xbox is the one I gotta go back to. I'd be like, oh yeah, what did I play on this? I remember playing Buffy.
Okay, I figured you were gonna say Buffy.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I thought was a great game.
Oh, it was fantastic. The first one, I didn't like the second one.
No, the second one was a little, the second one switched companies.
Oh, that's right.
And I think that's where it faltered.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, it's been so long since I've played Xbox that I'd have to go back and look at a list of games.
All right. Well, that'll be for a future mention, I guess.
Yes.
Sweet.
Do you have any?
Honestly, I was thinking. I thought Buffy, the first Buffy. But as far as Xbox, really the only one that stands out to me, which they've already done, is Knights of the Old Republic. That one.
What about, and then of course the Halo series.
Yeah, but that's already available because they got the Guardians edition, Halo Guardians.
Of course.
So, or Master Chief Collection, excuse me. But also Burnout. There was a series called Burnout.
Oh yes, I remember.
And just phenomenal on Xbox. So I'd like to see the original Burnout be available on Xbox.
Okay. That's fair.
So, and everyone listening, let the world know what you would like to see as far as an Xbox backwards compatible game on the Xbox One. Hit us up, facebook.com/RetroGamersPodcast. Let us hear from you what games you think, or even systems. What systems would you like to see come back? Because I got news for you. It's only a matter of time before they're all back. So,
very true.
So with that, we'll see what's happening with Microsoft, with backwards capability. And with Kickstarter, if we see any cool Kickstarters, we'll forward it to you as well.
Color.
What? Link turned to snow. Freaked me out.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
It's like a David Copperfield trick.
All right, Larry, it's time for this week's Wacky Retro Game. And I'm always digging the internet. I dig through the internet to find the best ones I can find. And since our next segment is going to be focusing on a specific console, I thought I would look up a wacky retro game for the Nintendo Gamecube.
Okay.
So this week's wacky retro game is called Cubivore: Survival of the Fittest. It was developed by Saru Brunei Intelligent Systems, released in Japan February 22nd, 2002, and in the U.S. on November 5th, 2002. Now, what is Cubivore about? In the land of Cubivores, the beast known as the Killicubivore reigns at the top of the animal food chain. And if you want to know what a cubivore is, it basically looks like a living cardboard box with legs.
Fair enough.
The powerful tyrant and his gang of cronies have gorged themselves on the essence of the land.
Oh my God.
Called the wilderness. so much that they have absorbed some of it into themselves. And because of this, nature has begun to fade away, becoming drab and infertile, and the number of beasts has declined. So you play as the protagonist, and you are a cubivore, and you have taken it upon yourself to become the king of all cubivores in order to challenge the killer cubivore and restore the wilderness to the world.
Very nice.
And to accomplish this, you basically have to mutate. And the way that you mutate is by eating your fellow cubivores.
So cannibalism at its best.
Yeah, so basically you are a cannibal eating your friends so that you can mutate to become powerful enough to kill the evil killer cubivore. Basically the game's all about natural selection.
I love it.
And that is this week's wacky retro game, Cubivore Survival of the Fittest.
All right, and we have a Sweet 16 party to attend, kind of, sort of.
Ooh.
That actually sounds a little creepy. Sorry. On my end.
Well, it's definitely creepy for two guys in their 30s, yes.
But no, this Sweet 16 is
I don't
wonderful.
want to get swept up in the entertainment industry scandal.
That's right. Honestly,
no,
left and right.
No, thank you.
But this Sweet 16 is okay because this one, it's a system that I think changed the landscape for Nintendo and for a lot of gamers like us.
It did. It definitely did for Nintendo. There's no question about it because they were going into uncharted waters on this system. And for those of you who don't know, we are celebrating the 16th anniversary of the launch of the Nintendo Gamecube.
Yes.
Which, to be honest with you, was quite possibly considered, or was almost considered, the last console of Nintendo, because it didn't perform particularly well.
Which I still don't understand. I guess look, I'm only one person out of everyone who bought it, but I thought there was a lot of good games on the GameCube.
No, there were a lot of good games on it. I think the issue was because there was because you had PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, Xbox all hanging around, and I think that I just think that switching over to a disc-based system was a daunting task at the time, and then you compound that with the fact that Nintendo always had a hard time hanging on to third parties, and third-party developers. And the GameCube suffered greatly for that because Sony and Microsoft had basically eaten up all the third-party developers. Nintendo could not get them for the GameCube system, and that was one of the core issues. You can get plenty of first-party games on the GameCube, but when it came to third-party, they did not have the library that Sony and Microsoft had.
True. Yeah, you're right. The games, I don't really remember there being I keep using that word. An abundant, yeah, I'll use a different one. An abundant number of games for the GameCube. But the ones that were out there, and look, Nintendo, I think they pride themselves on first party anyway. They should. They have a tremendous lineup.
No, which is very true. But they're because they have the history and the prestige of some really solid series and franchises. So they can definitely get by on that. But but again, when this thing came out in 2001, people were starting to see an influx of systems, of other games, of third parties coming out with this really cool stuff, and Nintendo wasn't able to offer it because whether it was they couldn't make deals with developers or their system was limited. So I think probably one of the biggest issues with the GameCube was the fact that they went with that mini disc system because they were trying to avoid their games being pirated.
True. Yeah.
But as a result of that, it limited how much space there was on a disc for a game. So,
crippling. Yeah.
Yeah. So games that were coming out, granted it was Microsoft exclusive, but your Halos and your Devil May Cries and things like that, it was like they weren't going to be able to scale them down to a GameCube disc anyway. And
we talked about it last week when we were talking about the top 20 because this is in the top 20 all-time selling systems. It was low. It was down near the bottom, but it was there. But you're right, because of how that CD, that little mini, remember when you would buy like singles, a music single, and it usually came on those mini CDs? That's basically what this was, size-wise. Yep. And for games, some games that got ported to the GameCube suffered compared to ports on other systems because they had to take things out, they had to scale things down. It got, for some games, it did get tough with this little mini DVD optical disc is what it was called.
Basically, yeah. And again, like I said, I mean, they were the first party games absolutely fantastic. In fact, overall on the GameCube there were 500 almost 560 games. So I mean, it had a decent library.
We'll take it.
Don't get me wrong, but again, it was the fact that the quality of the games on it just were not to the level of your Sonys and of your Sony and Microsofts, because of that disc issue.
Yeah, so
and third party. And to be honest with you, at least based on, and this is just conjecture on my part, based on reading Console Wars, which, by the way, Larry, you need to read. No, seriously.
I know. I want to.
Great book. But based on the difficulty it was and still is to work with Nintendo, because, like I said, Nintendo had put a serious amount of restrictions on the video game industry to avoid another crash after the video game crash of the 80s.
Oh, absolutely.
And they held on to that. So imagine third-party developers trying to work with Nintendo at this point in time when they had other options. It's like, do I want to go through all of the hoops and the restrictions that Nintendo's going to put on me to put a game out on their GameCube, or do I want to work with Sony and Microsoft, who probably have more leniency when it comes to these rules? And I wouldn't be surprised if that was also one of the issues with Nintendo making deals with third-party developers for the GameCube system.
Mm-hmm. You're right. I do see all that. I definitely see your point on that as well. But that aside, when you just look at the system for what it is, just the GameCube, nothing else. Got to admit, I mean, some fantastic gameplays and some of those first parties. But it was also, the system was a first as well, not just the CD, but it was a first for Nintendo in a lot of ways, even like small factors. Like, for one, it was basically the first system to not feature a Mario platform as a launch.
Yes, which was actually monumental because Mario launched with every system up until that point. So the fact that and you know what, I love the fact that they did go a different route, and they didn't. And to be honest with you, they didn't veer that far off. Mm-hmm. The launch game that came with it was the launch game was Luigi's Mansion.
Yep.
Which, by the way, the GameCube is one of the only systems from Nintendo that I purchased, and I've never played a Mario game. The Mario games on them.
Really?
Never played Mario Sunshine.
It's all right. I mean, it's
and for that matter, I never played Luigi's Mansion either.
Really? That I'm shocked.
There was only one, like when I bought the GameCube, there was one game and one game only that I wanted, and it was Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker. That was the game that I needed to have. Now, granted, it didn't come out at launch. Mm-hmm. I wound up playing, when I first bought GameCube, I bought two games, if I remember correctly. I bought Wave Race Blue Storm because I loved Wave Race 64.
Yeah, I remember that.
I thought that game was awesome. And Wave Race Blue Storm was fantastic. And I bought Batman Vengeance.
Okay, well, we all make mistakes.
What are you talking about? I loved that game.
Oh, that was a good game? Well, I must be
Batman
getting confused with another game. Yeah.
Yeah, Batman Vengeance was a great game.
I stand corrected. Yeah, I apologize.
I highly recommend going back and playing that game. But those were the two games I wound up picking up. I don't know why I didn't get Luigi's Mansion. Maybe it was sold out when I went to go get it or not, But Batman Vengeance and Wave Race Blue Storm were the two games that I left with. Oh, wait, I forgot. There were three. Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2.
Oh, yeah.
Rogue Leader.
Yep.
And that game was amazing. I love that game.
That game was sweet. Some quick... What I liked about the system is the variety of... Nintendo's always trying to incorporate different gameplay mechanics or ways to play the game. So every system, with Sony PlayStation, every PlayStation, the controller's basically the same controller. With Microsoft, basically the same type of controller with slight differences. Nintendo, probably why you really can't get away with backwards capability sometimes, is the drastic difference in the controller and the GameCube controller was just a drastic difference in anything we saw. I remember when I first saw the GameCube controller, I was like, this looks kind of weird.
Yeah, it was a very strange setup because, obviously gone were the days of, I think thanks to N64 and PlayStation 1, gone were the days of like 4 or 6 buttons, we went from two buttons to 6 buttons to like 20 buttons. It was like, it was like all of a sudden it's like there are a million buttons. And now today, I mean, when you look at controllers today, it's like, I don't know how they keep milking button space, because it's like you've got 2 joysticks, and not only can you go in every direction on the joystick, but then you can press on the joystick as a button, and then there's a crosshair, and then you got the 4 buttons, and then the 4 buttons on the top. It's just endless, and I feel like GameCube kind of, or I should say N64 kind of started it, and GameCube continued the trend, because you had like that weird 4, like the C button was 4 buttons.
Yeah, yep.
They didn't give them different names. It was just up C, left C, right C, down C.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, why couldn't you just do like A, B, C, D, E, F, or A, B, C, X, Y, Z, or something like that? It was so weird.
You're right. This controller had more buttons, but the layouts on them were just weird.
Yeah, I will say it definitely is not the best controller.
No, it is not
ugly. The best controller at all.
You got that giant green A button you know what I mean? That's just right in the center of all the other buttons on the right hand side of the controller. You got the what now became an analog C stick. So it's kind of like the first time you saw that dual analog sticks on the Nintendo GameCube. The Z button, which was a standalone button on top, which I still don't remember using it for anything.
I'm sure. No, I don't either.
Like, it was weird. And then the shoulder buttons, the L&R shoulder buttons. Do you remember what always drove me a little, not nuts, but just like, I always thought it was odd. It was pressure sensitive, but if you press all the way down on it, it was just this audible click.
Yeah,
which I always thought was a little weird. So it was like analog when you just lightly press. Then once you hear that click, it went to digital and then did what it had to do. But Nintendo really took advantage of other types of input controllers. Do you remember the Wavebird?
Oh, yes.
It was Nintendo's first party wireless controller.
Yeah, and it was weird.
It was bulky, admittedly. It was very bulky.
It was definitely bulky. It was heavy.
Yeah, it was.
It's definitely heavy. And again, it was just one of the things. It wasn't. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're complaining too much about this system.
No, I'm not. Well, yeah.
No, we are. We're definitely ripping into it quite a bit. We'll get to the positive bits about it, but I mean, the controller definitely not the best, and the system itself was odd in its shape. It was a cube.
It was exactly
it
was what it was.
It was a GameCube, but it also had a handle on it.
Yes.
So that you could and I never understood I found that the weirdest thing, because it was like it had a handle on it as if you could just pick it up and bring it to a friend's house to play with. And I'm like, but you still need to unhook all the wires, pack all the wires somewhere. It's not like the back of it had like a little pouch to put wires or something, but it had a handle so you can just carry it. And I was like, why would I ever do that?
It was very weird. I don't think I've ever ported it anywhere that I needed to.
No, I definitely never did. I can say that with absolute certainty, that I never once picked it up by its handle and brought it anywhere.
Yeah, I guess, the idea was there. You got to admit, they started with that, and then as their newer systems came, it started on the GameCube. We finally got it on the Switch as far as portability. So
yeah, so just a really odd system. And to be honest with you, I still liked the original name of it, the Dolphin.
Right? Honestly, that was kind of cool.
I like that better. And to be honest, and they did they changed the name to the GameCube much later in the console life, because there's a lot of Dolphin references on the system. You can actually find it. You can actually find a hidden dolphin on it if you open up your GameCube. There's a chip in it.
Oh, really?
That has the image of a dolphin on it. And then I don't know if you remember in some of the launch games like Wave Race, At one point, you're just racing along on your jet ski, and a bunch of dolphins start coming next to you, going with you. There were definitely a bunch of dolphin references in the games because that was the plan for the system. But I guess somebody decided that dolphin was a dumb name.
Yeah, might as well call it what it looks like, a GameCube.
Exactly, and the rest is history.
The attachments that you can plug into it, you can actually plug in the Game Boy Advance straight into the GameCube, and sometimes use it as a controller, depending on what the game is.
Yep.
Of course, it had its version of the Game Boy, Super Game Boy. I forgot what they call it.
Yes,
to be honest with you,
Game Boy.
But
I need to get my hands on that so I can play some old school Game Boy games.
I'm telling you,
you know how I am when handheld.
Yep. But this one, and I'm blanking on the actual name of it, but it hooked on, and it was fit perfectly. It hooked to the bottom of the GameCube, so the GameCube sat on top of it. You screwed it on, so it was a permanent part of it, and it played Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games, all on the television. And what was awesome was because you were able to plug the Game Boy Advance into the GameCube, that turned it into a controller. So you didn't have to feel weird using the GameCube controller on a Game Boy game because you just use the system it was designed for, the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, and you know what? I need to get my hands on that thing. I'm actually on eBay right now looking at it.
How much does it go for?
The Game Boy player itself.
That's what it's called. Game Boy player, yeah.
The Game Boy player. There's one right on here for $23.
Oh, okay, that's reasonable.
And then there's one with the full packaging for $90.
I was gonna say, make sure you get the disc. There was a boot up disc with it.
Yeah, see, this one has the adapter only. I think the disc is the one that makes it
probably
more expensive.
I'll sell it to you.
Oh, do you have it?
Oh yeah, I still got it. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Do you remember the Panasonic Q?
No.
No?
The Panasonic.
The Panasonic Q was, with the GameCube, it took those mini discs. So you weren't, everything was playing DVD. So obviously you couldn't fit a regular size CD or DVD into the GameCube. So right. Nintendo, years later, when they originally tried it with them, Nintendo teamed with Panasonic and put out a hybrid DVD GameCube player called the Q.
Wow.
I've never seen it actually sold anywhere. It has been sold.
Q.
Yep. So it was a commercial DVD player and a Nintendo GameCube. The case, it looked nothing like a GameCube. It was god awful ugly.
Wow, I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, very shiny.
Yes, it is.
It kind of looked like a GameCube with a hump on top of it. It was. Just,
I don't know. Without looking at the smaller image, it looks like a fax machine.
It kind of does, yeah. But yeah, so they tried. Nintendo had they recognized game DVDs and wanted to make that home console with everything on it. But they discontinued. It was only after a couple of years. I remember seeing.
Yeah, but you know what? At that point, you should have just made your GameCube system full disc.
Yeah, that's.
DVD, by that point, DVDs were pretty much the standard in movie watching.
Yeah. So that didn't last too long. I did see an actual Panasonic Q at the first Long Island Retro Gaming Expo I went to. They had it on display. It was
that's
cool.
Awesome. This sucker's expensive.
They even had a modem. The GameCube had a modem.
Yes, that I knew about.
I don't remember the modem. I don't know if it was sold here.
Yeah, no, they were definitely trying to. Whoa. Sorry. I just found somebody's video game collection on eBay for $79,000.
There you go. Someone's trying to get rid of it.
If anybody has $79,000,
we're going to start it.
It's basically every console in its original box going back to the Odyssey.
That sounds unrealistic.
I wonder if I can get a loan from my bank. But getting back to the
modem.
GameCube, yeah, I knew they had a modem. I never took advantage of it because it was at that point where I was like, online play was still kind of in its infancy, and I don't want to say super infancy because Sega had it on the Dreamcast. Remember, I think Sega was really the first one to really try to take advantage of it.
I remember the modem on the PlayStation 2, and I actually used it a couple times to play sports games. And that was
I never used it.
dial-up.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how you play sports games on dial-up or games in general on dial-up.
You know, it was PS2, so you know the heaviness of it, you don't have to worry about it too much. But yeah, dial-up.
No, thank you.
So let's get to the meat and potatoes of this system, the software.
Meat and potatoes.
Some of the top games, and like you mentioned, you know, Legend of Zelda, Wind Waker, Luigi's Mansion was awesome. Star Wars games were great.
Super Mario Sunshine.
Super Mario Sunshine, absolutely.
Weren't there two of them?
No, you're thinking Galaxy.
No, I'm thinking of Galaxy.
Yeah. And there was a good number of games that were exclusive.
Well, let's just go through all the Marios. I mean, Super Smash Brothers, Melee, Super Mario Kart Double Dash, Mario Party 4, 5, 6, and 7. You know, basically all the main franchises.
A lot of the Pokemon games, you know, where they were trying to branch out with those fighters. Yes,
I'm trying to think, Pokemon Coliseum, which were basically the Pokemon Stadium games for N64.
Mm-hmm.
Their version on the GameCube, which were awesome. One of my absolute favorite games on here, and I'm sure you'll agree, was Aquaman: Battle for Atlantis.
Ooh, that's yeah. Well, you know, if you fell on your head and didn't know what was going on, it would probably be a tremendous game for you.
Yes, exactly. This is the perfect game for a person who has just had a lobotomy. Absolutely terrible game. One of my favorite games of all time, or at least one of my favorite gaming experiences of all time, is on this system because at the time I was roommates with Frank, who is your co-host on the Better Half,
yep.
And this is the system. This is the system where we played Baldur's Gate: Dark Alliance. The infamous Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance that we absolutely loved until there was no ending.
What?
And then no sequel.
Well, eventually there was a sequel.
Not on GameCube.
Not on GameCube. No, not at all.
Those bastards. But you had some other good ones. You had your Blood Rains. We talked the Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The second game came out on GameCube.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Which wasn't as great. But it was a functional game. Call of Duty actually was on the GameCube.
It was.
Surprisingly enough.
It was. Yeah, the first one was good. How about the WWE games?
Oh yeah, the WWE games were surprised. Like Day of Reckoning and Day of Reckoning 2, I really liked. Minus, were those the ones with the issue? I don't remember if it was that one or the WrestleMania ones. But there was one of those systems. One of those games, I should say.
It was the WrestleMania.
Where when you were in the Royal Rumble, which is the best mode in the game, and you got eliminated, you had to watch the rest of the Rumble. You couldn't be another player.
That's right.
And that I think it was Day of Reckoning because like one of them was like everything else about the game fantastic, but if I get eliminated from the Royal Rumble at like number 4 or 5, and I got to sit there to watch 25 other people come through this game, no, thank you.
Mega Man, there's one game in particular I want to mention as far as on the GameCube that I owned, but for some reason, I don't know why they designed it this way. And we've seen it now happen. They've released it a bunch of times. They had one come out recently. But like the first Mega Man Anniversary Collection, the first time they did that, they released on the GameCube and other platforms. So it was basically the first, it may have been the first 8. It may have even included the PlayStation one. So
it did.
Yeah,
Mega Man 1 through 8.
First 8 Mega Man. So I bought it like, sweet, I can finally get to play Mega Man again, have all 8 games. So I buy it. Game's fantastic. Graphics are phenomenal. And you can't change this in the option menu. They reversed the B and A buttons and their inputs.
Oh, no, you don't do that.
Oh, it ruined the game.
Yeah, because your muscle memory doesn't work that way.
Oh, it's terrible.
They also had the Mega Man X collection on there as well.
Yes, they've also done that one as well. Great series.
Let's not forget also Metroid Prime.
Yes, the Metroid Prime series.
Metroid Prime series came out on this system, which was fantastic. They did all the Resident Evils on here.
Resident Evil 0. I had 0. It was a 2-disc game. It scared the heck out of me.
Well, that's what they're supposed to do.
Oh, it worked out tremendous.
Yep. So let's see. What other things did they have on here?
Do you remember?
This is the first system. Hold on before you go on to that. This was the first system where Sega moved
Yes.
Sonic over to.
Oh, how could I have forgotten almost?
Because when the Dreamcast went out and Sega said they're not making systems anymore, they started licensing out their characters, and the Sonic games wound up on the GameCube.
They were called the DX series, Sonic Adventures DX and Sonic Adventures 2 DX.
Yep.
And they were really good. They were tremendous ports.
Yep.
Of the games. I think I played more. You know what? I played Sonic Adventure on Dreamcast, but I may have played Sonic Adventure 2 on GameCube.
I don't remember. I don't know if I ever even played Sonic Adventure 2. I know Sonic Adventure I have on Dreamcast for sure.
I know the one of the weirder games I have, and I actually own BMX XXX on the GameCube.
You know what? That doesn't surprise me at all.
But on a Nintendo system, that's weird because it did involve topless women, like actual video of topless women.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
When
it comes to you, at least.
Hey, listen, I also own the Guy game on Xbox.
Yeah. Let's not even go there. You own the Playboy game too, right?
I did. I sold that back eventually.
Nice. What about X-Men Legends and X-Men Legends 2? Getting back to great games
agreed.
Instead of your crap.
How dare you? Those X-Men games were fantastic.
I love that first X-Men Legends game, and then the second one they made it even better because you actually teamed up with the villains also. Were just really awesome.
There were a lot of compilations. I remember buying mostly compilation, like Midway Arcade Treasures 1 through 3, in television collections, like we mentioned the Mega Man collections. So
when the Virtual Console didn't exist at the time, they would just put out all these collections.
Namco Museum.
Yep,
had a lot of good games on it.
I remember that. I remember, God, what else? Namco Museum always did one. Midway always seemed to do one.
Mm-hmm.
The Midway class.
Remember the Simpsons games, Road Rage and Hit and Run?
Yep, those were great.
Sonic Gems collection.
How about Superman, Shadow of Acropolis or Apocalypse, whatever the freaking name of that game was?
I thought we were mentioning good games.
Well, you always got to mention Shadow of Apocalypse. Terrible game. No, between that and Aquaman, I mean, geez. What were you thinking, DC?
Not everyone hits a home run.
Soul Calibur 2, which at the time, if you remember, Soul Calibur 2 was a fighting game. And then, but on every system it came out on, there was a special character offered.
Yep.
Nintendo's I'm trying to remember if I believe Soul Calibur 2 on the GameCube, you got Link.
You sure did
from Legend of Zelda. So and that was really cool because that was the one I wanted, and I wound up getting it on the Dreamcast.
And the Dreamcast was also really the last system we saw a fantastic and let alone new F-Zero game.
Oh yeah,
F-Zero GX. GameCube, excuse me. I'm sorry. F-Zero GX.
That F-Zero series. I mean, going back now and playing at the original F-Zero is terrible. I'm not gonna lie. I tried it. I'm like, really? I can't control the car. I can't control the car anymore. That's it. It's just a lost cause at this point. But the F-Zero GX was amazing. Like I played that game nonstop.
I never owned it. I gotta go out. I gotta find it.
You really got to find it. Just go on eBay. I was just on eBay right now, pricing out Mario parties.
See if you can find the glove.
How about the very odd Donkey Konga?
Oh, with the bongo drums.
With the bongo drums, the bongos. And then here's a game that I didn't even know came out on the Dreamcast. And now that I'm reviewing a list, this is one I wanna get. Dragon's Lair 3D.
I don't remember that
Return to the Lair. Yeah, came out in 2002. Reviews were mediocre, but just the idea of playing a Dragon's Lair game, though, I had no idea that came out, and that was also part of the problem too. Like sometimes there were games that came out that you didn't realize were on the system.
Right.
Remember, there was a wacky game that There was a wacky game that I did for the GameCube not too long ago called Mr. Mosquito.
Oh yes.
Where you would go around and suck blood from people,
as you do. And then I was going to say, and then another series that debuted on the GameCube was the Pikmin series, which is still popular today.
Oh yes, that's still popular today. Just great stuff. Pac-Man had a bunch of games on this system.
Oh, we did Pac-Man Versus is one actually we're going to talk about.
Pac-Man Versus, Pac-Man Fever.
Yep.
Oh, and how about this is I think one of your favorite games that I've never played and need to. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
You know what? I played Super Paper Mario on the Wii.
Okay.
But my buddy had Paper Mario and he loved it, and I've seen some gameplay. It's a really good RPG. And then the one I want to mention also is, remember when the Wii came out and Twilight Princess came out as a launch, it also came out on the GameCube.
Well, because it was originally planned for the GameCube, and it just took them too long to develop it, and by that time the Wii was on the verge of coming out, so they decided to make it for both. I actually bought the one for the GameCube because, remember your history with me, I never bought a Wii until about 2 months ago.
but
which, by the way, I still haven't gotten to work.
Still? Oh my gosh.
Well, I think the sensor bar doesn't work.
Oh, you can buy those. Those are cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, but just I think that's a good thing. We can close out on Zelda because we really didn't talk a lot of Zelda. I mean, Wind Waker, one of the most amazing Zelda games of all time. Absolutely one of the best games, or the best game on the GameCube. Twilight Princess, fantastic.
Yeah, and then with Twilight Princess, also remember what was cool about the Twilight Princess on GameCube? It was the Wii version just mirrored.
Yes,
because what happens? You go. Like, it's weird, like the way everything like goes right, like literally you have to go right in certain situations. On the Wii version, on the GameCube version, you would go left. So I thought that was pretty cool to do, to separate the two games.
Well, it's awesome, and it was also great for people like me who didn't want to play a game with the motion controllers on the Wii. That's why I never bought the Wii, because I didn't want to stand in my living room and act like a fool. On the GameCube, you were able to just play it with a regular controller, which is what I always wanted to do anyway.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, I've never played Skyward Sword for that specific reason.
Yeah, I don't think I haven't played it either. But
I really want to, because I love every Zelda. I've yet to find a Zelda game I've hated. So
apparently you never played the CDI games.
No, I haven't. I should, just so I can say I've played a Zelda game that I don't like.
All right, so GameCube, happy 16th birthday! You brought a lot of memory to us, a lot of good gameplay.
All right, Larry, it is time for this week's retro record. I figured since we're doing our love fest to the GameCube, that we'll stick with that. So
that works
for this week's. Yeah, I think so. For this week's retro record, do you know which game was the best-selling GameCube game of all time?
Best-selling GameCube. I'm gonna assume a Mario game. I just feel like it. I'm gonna say Super Mario Brothers Melee.
Super Mario Brothers Melee. I believe what you mean to say is Super Smash Brothers Melee.
Super Mario Brothers Melee was just released in 2 states here in the United States. It was
apparently
it was a Wendy's package.
So in that case, then you are dead wrong, because the correct answer is Super Smash Brothers Melee. It sold 7.07 million copies.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
Not as much as some other games, but considering the fact that GameCube did not have a built-in game that came with the system, that was that process was long since gone, or that tradition. So so the best-selling GameCube game, Super Smash Bros. Melee, with just a hair over 7 million copies, and that is this week's retro record. All right, Larry, as the resident Uber Nintendo lover here. You definitely love Nintendo more than I do.
Fanboy.
Even though I'm a big Nintendo fan, I bequeathed this week's retro spotlight to you, since we were doing the GameCube Fest.
I like it.
So tell me, what'd you come up with for this week's retro spotlight? And do not disappoint me.
I won't. Basically, yes, it's the 16th anniversary of the Nintendo GameCube, and as much as I am a Nintendo fan, I know your series of choice. So I did was a Zelda game for the GameCube, but I'm also using, it's not Wind Waker, I'll tell you that. This one's going to be The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventure. Ventures.
Ooh.
Because what happens is the GameCube, when it incorporated the Game Boy Player, it also incorporated the use of the Game Boy Advance as a secondary controller, but not necessarily for just Game Boy Advance games or Game Boy games. It ended up being like a controller for video games, for GameCube games themselves. And I thought Four Swords Adventure kind of brought together everything really good about the GameCube. Gameplay, Zelda, using like peripherals like the Game Boy Player, and then Game Boy Advance, I should say. So it all kind of came together, and this is a result of a multiplayer game that was a Game Boy Advance game called Legend of Zelda 4 Swords. It was part of Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past on the Game Boy Advance. That was
nice.
Clearly just a port of the Super NES game, and it included this multiplayer game, really for 4 players. And so the Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventure came out on the GameCube in North America June 7th, 2004. And basically, again, the cool part about it is you didn't have to use it, but you could use the Game Boy Advance controller for the gameplay, and I'll explain why here in a few moments. Basically, the story of the game goes is that as every Zelda game, Hyrule is in trouble. You have to restore law and order in Hyrule, peace in Hyrule, actually. And the evil counterpart, pretty much a return from Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, Shadow Link is the villain in this game. So we get a bit of a callback from earlier gameplay.
I remember because I played through this, but I played through it as a single player.
Oh, did you? Oh, you played Four Swords Adventures?
Oh yeah, no, I completed that game.
Oh, okay, cool.
I still own it on the GameCube.
Very good. It's such a fantastic game.
It's a great game. I wish I would have been able to play it with other people, but by the time I had picked it up and played it, I lived in LA and didn't know anybody.
Same here. It was a one-player game, but it was up to 4 players because basically what happens is Link is split into 4 characters, 4 different Links at different colors, which we'll talk about in just a few moments. But basically, with the story of it, the gameplay consists of there's 8 levels, 8 worlds, if you will. Kind of like 8 always been predominant in Legend of Zelda series.
Yes.
3 stages per level, per world, then a major boss battle. What I loved about this was kind of, I wouldn't say the first game to kind of throw back the graphics, but for what the GameCube was capable of doing, this game, which was a GameCube game, actually had Game Boy Advance graphics. So 16-bit graphics, if you will, as far as looking like a Super Nintendo game, because that's what the Game Boy Advance was.
Cool.
And it took a lot of aspects from Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past and some from Wind Waker as well. A lot of the effects from Wind Waker, the view and the graphical interface from Link to the Past. So it was pretty, and the impact of the GameCube itself, allowing for clouds, mist. You see like the heat, like when you see like when it's hot out, you see what looks like steam coming off. You know what I mean? Fog. It was really graphically, that overlay was very, very particular in the game. And the music was more Link to the Past. So pretty much kind of rearranged for the game, but very Link to the Past like. The mechanics of the game, the way the game worked, was very much like the Game Boy Advance version of 4 Swords. So you have the 4 different Links. Do you remember the 4 colors?
Let's see. You had green, red, blue, and I want to say yellow.
Ooh, purple.
Purple, thank you.
Green, red, blue, and purple. Whether you were playing 1 player or 4 players, you had all 4 Links. Of course, the more people you had playing with you, each one controlled an individual Link. But if you were just playing by yourself, pretty much just all 4 of you just kind of moved in the same pattern, just kind of followed along. The game, as much as it was battle, swords, how it is with Zelda, it was also heavy on the puzzle aspect because of the 4 different Links. And how to pretty much solve these puzzles with the 4 Links, whether you needed like 2 on one side, 2 on the other. You can stack up vertically with them. You can line them up horizontally. It really added to the gameplay. Even as a 1-player game, you really didn't feel like you were missing out because it was essentially 4 unique Links. So that was good how it incorporated that gameplay where, again, you weren't missing anything if you did not have other people with you.
No, and that was the cool thing about it, like knowing that you could play it solo, because I will say it was definitely a unique Zelda. It was definitely a unique Zelda adventure because you had to control all 4 of them.
And the process of each world, if you will, you had to gather enough what was called Force Gems to empower the 4 Sword. That's what you were going after. And failing to do so, by the time the boss is defeated or you got to this what was called the Dark Barrier, meant you had to go back and play the level over again. So you had to make sure you had enough gems to complete the level, or you were doing the whole thing over again.
Yeah,
that could get annoying sometimes.
Which was definitely not fun.
There was another version of the game called Shadow Battle that was part of it. That was pretty much a straightforward fighter. Really nothing to that part. This one, though, and this was Japanese only. We didn't get this in the U.S. This version called Navi Trackers. It was going to be a standalone game that was going to be called Tetris Trackers, but it was only available on the Japanese version. It was called Four Swords Plus. Basically, players used a combination of the television screen and the Game Boy Advance to search for members of Tetris Pirate Crew from Wind Waker to gain as many stamps, what was called stamps, as possible within a given time limit. And most of the action took place on the Game Boy Advance, with each player individually pretty much with their own screen, and the television was used as a map, and Tetra was narrating the gameplay.
Wow, that's so weird.
Yep. In fact, there is, with this game, with this Tetra game, they were, excuse me, as Nintendo tries to do, they're always trying to outdo themselves. And with the development of Navi Trackers, I mean, listen to this. Basically, it was going to include speech navigation that talked to you and led the players during mini-games. And in fact, if you typed in your name, the system would call you by your name.
Oh, that's awesome.
To notify you of your turn.
Wow. So, that's kind of weird. You'd have like a robot calling you.
Pretty much, the game was calling you out on it. That's pretty much how it worked.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I wish I saw that. We never got that here in North America. That was Japanese only.
You know what? I think I'm okay with that, though.
So the storyline goes as follows. Rainy night, stormy night, Zelda and the Shrine Maidens. Remember the Shrine Maidens? Were worried that the reason for these storms and horrible events is that Vati's seal is weakening. So Zelda brings Link to the castle so he can protect her, as Link always does, her and the maidens. So while they were getting ready to go to the Four Swords Sanctuary. When they make it to the sanctuary, what happens is, as you figure, a shadowy figure shows up, which is Shadow Link, kidnaps the maidens of the shrine, and then goes seals them in the crystals, and that's pretty much your reasoning for the game.
You never can trust those shadowy figures.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Link takes the Four Sword, and the Four Sword, hence the name, splits Link into the three other clones of himself. The seal that was imprisoning the Sorcerer of Winds, which is Vati, was broken up, released him from his prison, and here we go with the game. So, as usual, the villain breaks free and runs amok in Hyrule.
If they didn't, we'd have no game. So,
and not
may they run amok forever.
Absolutely, and not only that, but you end up getting back the Dark World from Link to the Past. That makes a return,
which is awesome.
Everyone's being kidnapped throughout Hyrule. No one knows where everything's going. All the knights have disappeared. Evil versions of them have taken over. So Link's got his hands full in this game. And
sounds like a blast to me.
And of course, lo and behold, guess who else shows up? As usual, the main protagonist in every Zelda game, Big Bad Ganon.
Well, duh.
And
it wouldn't be a game. It wouldn't be a Zelda game without him.
Absolutely not. And another hark back to Link to the Past. Ganon uses the Dark Mirror. That's what he did to create Shadow Link and the Dark World, and just creating havoc in Hyrule.
Very cool.
Yeah,
so yeah,
that's pretty cool. And of course, with the rest of the gameplay, with the storyline, that's where the gameplay comes in. So I don't want to spoil anything, but basically, Ganon's the villain.
No, I never saw that coming.
So, the game itself, actually, it was a very straightforward game. There really wasn't depth to it like a lot of Zelda games. I think it was meant as kind of a quick pick-em-up with multiplayers. But if you're playing by yourself, there's enough gameplay to suffice. But it really wasn't very time-consuming. You weren't playing for it hours on end like you are currently, especially with something like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and Breath of the Wild is like an epic adventure.
Oh, absolutely. This game did really good, though. Four Swords Adventures really scored high on a lot of lists. 2006. Oh, definitely. 2006, Nintendo Power rated the game 48th best game ever made on Nintendo system.
Wow.
Metacritic scored it 86 out of 100.
Cool.
And Game Rankings, average score of 85% based on 67 reviews.
That's pretty solid.
GameSpot really loved the fact of the connectivity with the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, because a lot of games didn't have, you know what I mean? There were very few games that did something like that.
I knew of, short of using the Game Boy Advance for a controller for the Game Boy Player, the only other game I know that used that connectivity was Pac-Man Versus.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember Pac-Man Versus?
Yes, I do.
It was, and actually Pac-Man Versus is available, a version of it is available on the Switch when the Namco Museum group comes out, the game comes out, or have already came out.
Sounds like we need to get that in play.
No, absolutely. The game itself actually came with a Game Boy Advance link cable that let you connect it to the GameCube, so it did supply it, so that was good. I think that's how I got one. I don't think I even bought one before that.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah. So Four Swords Adventures, as far as selling, here's how good it did. I knew it was good, but I didn't think it did this good. It was the third best-selling game in June of 2004 in North America. Oh. Sold 155,000 units, and since then has sold another 250,000 units, which made it part of the Player's Choice line, which is those best-of series that Nintendo puts out with their games and just basically drops it by like $5.
Yeah. That's about right.
In Japan, sold 127,000 units. And what's also really cool, I got to pick this up. I didn't realize they made one. A manga was made of the game.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And in the game, the 4 links have different... In the game, all 4 links are just different colored links. But in the manga, they all have their own personalities. So I thought this was really cool. So the green link... Nicknamed, shocking, they're all nicknamed by their color. Green Link is just normal Link, like you would see in the video games. Red Link was childish, optimistic. The blue Link was quick-tempered and aggressive. And the purple or violet Link was aloof and self-possessive.
You would think the red and the blue would be opposite personalities.
Switch, right? That's what I thought. Well... It is Japan, so I guess they have that.
Well, they're going against the trend. They buck trends all the time.
Absolutely. Very straightforward as far as Zelda Four Swords Adventures. If you haven't played it, pick it up. It's well worth it. But I knew there wasn't going to be too much to this one, which is why I got a little bit of a bonus retro spotlight for you.
Ooh, a bonus spotlight.
Yeah,
what is our... All right, Larry, you keep trying to impress me.
We're gonna PS this bad boy, and it's more Zelda. In fact,
well, then I'm all ears.
And you may remember, I don't know if you have both of these, but some people may also remember that there were 2 promotional discs that came out on the GameCube, which included Zelda games. And in fact, up until at that time, technically, you could have possessed the entire Zelda series on the GameCube.
That's correct.
So one of which... the first one that came out was a bonus. It was I wouldn't call it a bonus disc. I guess it would be a pre-sale. I'm trying to think of a word to call it.
Well, no, it was a pre-sale bonus.
Okay, fine. Pre-sale bonus of Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, and what we knew as Ocarina of Time Second Quest, Master Quest. Excuse me,
Master Quest.
Ocarina of Time Master Quest.
Yep.
Now, the Master Quest was actually a version of a Zelda game which was supposed to come out on the 64 disk drive.
Yes, but the 64 disk drive was scrapped for the U.S.
So basically this game, which was called Aura Zelda, U-R-A, Aura Zelda, was supposed to come out in 1998. It was supposed to be an add-on to Ocarina of Time, but as you said, it went defunct when the 64 disk drive did not come out. So basically what they did was they took Aura Zelda, they released it for the GameCube on this bonus disc called Ocarina of Time Master Quest. There really isn't anything too different about it. The levels are harder. Some of it is a little different. But it's definitely a second quest. It makes playing Ocarina of Time different enough that it feels like a whole new game. I've yet to ever get through it.
I'll be honest with you. I do have the disc, and I've never played the Master Quest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely got its difficulties.
I definitely need to, but I haven't yet.
In fact, in 2003, Peter Schneider from IGN gave Master Quest a very positive review. He said it aged extremely well. He liked the concept of the second quest, which is kind of based off of the second quest from the original Zelda game on NES.
Which is fantastic.
And Pierre, I said Peter. His name is Pierre Schneider. Even went as far as saying the game is far more difficult than the original. If anything's going to make you play a game, it's going to be a game that is far more difficult than the original.
Well, what's life without a challenge, Larry?
He also went on quoting saying a sweet, sweet surprise for any Zelda fan. So definitely well worth it. It goes for a lot of money nowadays. That concept, that game,
that disc.
Yeah, that disc itself definitely
makes me happy. I have it.
Yeah, right. Honestly, and then there was one more that came out in 2003, May of 2003. Oh, real quick, what I wanted to say about that one. What happened was because it was a pre-order incentive, so people would pre-order Wind Waker. That's how I got it. You pre-order Wind Waker.
That's how I got it too.
You get the game, but there was a lot of people pre-ordering, getting the bonus disc, and then canceling the pre-order.
I wonder why. Why wouldn't you want the, Wind Waker?
Because they wanted those. They wanted the bonus disc. So,
well, that I get.
In Europe, what they did was they basically solved that problem by making it an in-pack disc with Wind Waker. So you got a 2-disc set with Wind Waker.
Ah, okay.
So that was pretty interesting. And then the other bonus disc that had come out was one that had, like I said, this was the one that had pretty much every Zelda game up to that point. It was the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition, appropriately named. This disc include Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2 Adventures of Link, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and a demo of Wind Waker, and a couple features. I forgot what the features were. And that was just a straightforward port, nothing fancy, nothing different. What was cool about the Master Quest and the Second Quest bonus disc was they did give it a ever so slight graphical upgrade from the N64.
Yes, I do remember that.
Didn't blow it out of the water, but it was enough that there was a difference, and it made it look just ever so cleaner, ever so sharper, ever so smoother.
Yep. And I do have the disc, the collector's edition, with all 4, which is great because that's also hard to find.
Yeah, and Nintendo really never did that since, like put out like a cool bonus disc like that.
Well, the reason why is because you have a virtual console now. You can just download stuff.
True. But it was nice getting it for free.
Well, of course it was, but they're not going to do that now when you can go online and pay for it.
And they do go for a lot of money. I've seen them go for. At one point, maybe not as much nowadays, but at one point they were going for like $100-something. Those discs.
Were they?
At one point, this was a few years ago.
Oh, okay, good to know. What does eBay have?
I don't know. Hopefully, a little bit cheaper. Because if they're
well, no, you can get the collector's edition. Looks like for $35.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'm sure the virtual console put the kibosh on all that.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's like, or there's just a lot of them around.
Yeah, that's true too.
So so no, it's affordable.
Sweet. So there you go. So we got some 3 notable Zelda games on the GameCube: Legend of Zelda, 4 Swords Adventure, Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition, and the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and the Master Quest discs. Check them out if you can find them. And folks, that's this week's Retro Spotlight.
All right, Larry. That was a great Retro Spotlight, and we're going to segue right into our Did You Know segment, and we're sticking with the GameCube.
Excellent.
Now, we all know the GameCube intro sound.
Oh,
right?
Classic.
Yeah, it's actually a classic sound. And if anything, it's playing in the background right now. But did you know that there were 2 secret GameCube intro sounds that you can activate?
Really?
When you start up the system. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So the first alternate version is accessed by holding the Z button on your controller as the intro animation played. And if you time it just right, the music sounds like it makes like a bunch of bizarre sound effects, including a child's laugh and a baby rattle.
Oh,
it's
even
pretty
worse.
Weird.
All right, let's see what that was.
So give that a play.
Here we go.
So that's the first alternate.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Kind of weird. Okay. And that's the first one. Now the second one is actually a little bit harder to pull off. To do it, You had to plug in 4 GameCube controllers at once.
Oh, jeez.
And simultaneously hold the Z button on all 4 while the intro started.
It's already too daunting.
I know. And what you get is a rendition of the intro in the style of traditional Japanese music. So let's give that a listen.
That sounds interesting. Yo!
And that's the second alternate GameCube intro sound, and that is this week's Did You Know?
And this week in gaming, what do we got, bro?
All right, and by the sound of Josh, it is. You can set your clock to him now. It's time for This Week in Gaming.
I don't know if you want to set your clock to him. That's a whole other story. But yes, but it is time for This Week in Gaming. And we are going to start way back when, 35 years ago in 1982.
Ooh, okay.
In Japan. Most of my 80s stuff always winds up in Japan these days. I don't know why. But we're going to go back to Japan in 1982, where we got the Game & Watch multi-screen of Mickey and Donald.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Nice Disney Game & Watch.
I didn't know that.
All right, moving on 1 year later, in 1983, we got the Game & Watch panorama screen of Mario's Bombs Away.
What could
also
that even
in Japan.
What could that even look like? A panoramic screen?
I'm guessing just a really long screen.
I guess so. Yeah, honestly.
At least for Game & Watch purposes,
well, yeah,
it probably
true.
wasn't that much long. Moving on to 1984 in Japan, we got the Game & Watch Micro Versus system of Donkey Kong Hockey.
Wow, I never realized how dressed, like there was so many different versions of the Game & Watch.
Yeah, there were a ton of different Game & Watches, particularly in Japan. I don't know if they all made it over here, but yeah, they definitely ran the gamut when it came to Game & Watches. All right, we're moving on to 1985 on the Famicom in Japan. We got a game called Sky Destroyer.
Okay.
No idea. Moving on to 1986 on the Sega Master System in Japan, Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Nice. You're going to make a kid's game, make it Rambo.
Yeah, I'm really curious about how Rambo translated over to the Japan.
It's like how we had a Saturday morning cartoon.
I guess so. Moving on to 1987, and we're going to a completely new country that we don't normally go to, but on the Nintendo in Sweden.
Oh,
Stop that. In 1987, they got The Legend of Zelda this week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So 30 years ago this week, Sweden was graced with Legend of Zelda.
Congrats, Swedes.
Moving on to 1988, in Japan on the Sharp X68000.
Cha-ching.
Our favorite console that neither of us have ever even seen in real life.
No, but I'm hoping they make a mini console out of it.
Oh,
let's put that on Kickstarter.
That'll be the Sharp X34000. So in 1988, they got Tetris on the Sharp X68000.
Cool.
Moving on to 1989, also on the Sharp X68000.
Ooh, back to back.
Getting double love. There was a game called Shuffle Puck Cafe.
I'm assuming hockey.
Me too.
Unless it's shuffleboard.
Me too. And we'll leave it at that. 1990 on the Game Boy in Japan, Pac-Man came out.
Okay, that was a good port.
Yeah, well, any port's better than the Atari port. So, moving on to 1991 on the TurboGrafx 16, also in Japan, Gradius.
Nice. Love that series.
Always good. 1992, we're going for the trifecta on the Sharp X68000.
Look at this, folks.
This week. Do you remember a game called Pipe Dream?
Ooh, on your
PC?
You say the title rings a bell, but I'm having trouble picturing it. It's been a while.
So Pipe Dream was a game. It was like a grid game, and you were given pipe pieces, and you had to connect the pipe pieces before the green goo started to come through.
Okay, now I remember exactly. Yep.
It was a race to complete the pipes.
Yep.
So I used to play that all the time on my DOS 3.1 or Windows 3.1. I'm sorry, Windows 3.1 had that.
That was going way back.
All right. Yep. And speaking of DOS, in 1993 on DOS, there was a game that came out called Paper Airplane.
Okay. Sequel to Paperboy?
No, this wasn't just you controlling a paper airplane.
Fair enough.
Okay. Moving on to 1994, and we definitely don't say this system often enough, on the Sega Pico.
Oh my God, the Pico.
Remember the Pico?
Good Lord, barely, but yeah.
Yep, so on the Sega Pico, we got A Year at Pooh Corner.
What? Oh, man.
When I say Pooh, I mean P-O-O-H, as in Winnie the Pooh.
I've spent a year at Pooh Corner. Oof.
No, let's not go there.
The Pico is pretty much what like Leapfrog is today.
Yep. Things are going to get a little more monumental now as
all right.
we move on. There are some heavy hitters that came out this week. Well, we're getting to the holiday season, so this is when the big games start coming out.
Absolutely.
So, 1995 on the Sony PlayStation, we got Doom.
Ooh, nice.
Yep.
Nice. About to be released on the Switch.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Looking forward to that, actually, even though I don't play first-person shooters. Moving on to 1996, on the Sony PlayStation and the Sega Saturn, we got the first Tomb Raider.
Really? Oh, wow. They came out on Saturn?
Yeah.
Wow, cool.
Way back in the first one did it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it survived long.
No, I didn't realize the first one came out on anything else but PlayStation.
Yep. Moving on to 1997 on the Nintendo 64, a game you and I both love, and it started a great series, WCW versus NWO World Tour.
Yes. Oh, that's some of the best wrestling games ever.
Yep. Oh, and conversely, every year this week in gaming history were the sequels from that company.
Oh, came out around this time? Okay.
Yep. We had Revenge, and then WrestleMania 2000, and then No Mercy.
Alrighty. Cool.
Back to back, 4 years in a row.
Cool.
Great wrestling gaming this time of year. Moving on to 1998 on the Nintendo 64, Tetris 64 came out in Japan.
Okay.
Moving on to 1999 on the Sony PlayStation, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis.
Ooh, nice. So
I still remember that. I still remember that thing. Stars. And he would just come out of nowhere and come after you. It drove me nuts.
Oh, man.
I played it on the Dreamcast.
Oh, it's terrifying. It just would not stop coming after you.
No, it would not. It would not. He was very annoying. He made it hard to beat the game. Bastard. Moving on to 2000 on the Sony PlayStation, we got Final Fantasy IX.
Ooh, all right.
Also a big hit.
Yeah.
And then, as stated multiple times, in 2001, 16 years ago, we got the Nintendo GameCube.
That's our episode this week, yeah.
That has been our episode this week, and I'm going to just run down the launch titles that came with it.
Okay.
All right. So we got All-Star Baseball 2002, Batman Vengeance, Crazy Taxi.
Ah, yes.
Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2.
Okay.
FIFA Soccer 2002.
Oh, a lot of sports.
Frogger. Oh, no, not Frogger. Never mind. That was something else. Luigi's Mansion.
Classic.
Madden NFL 2002. Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader. Super Monkey Ball.
Oh, yeah.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3.
Oh.
And Wave Race Blue Storm. So there was a good solid dozen.
Oh, absolutely.
Games that came out with it. So it was a really great opening for the GameCube.
It was a great launch, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a great launch. All right, moving on to 2002 on the Xbox, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell.
Nice. That started a really good series.
Yes, it did. 1 year later, in 2003, on the Nintendo GameCube, Mario Kart Double Dash.
Oh, love Double Dash.
Double Dash, I think, was the only Mario Kart I never owned.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what happened with me on the GameCube, but a lot of the regular, all the Mario titles, I seem to have skipped. I need to go back and make that up. Moving on to 2004. On GameCube, PlayStation 2, Game Boy Advance, Xbox, and Windows, Need for Speed Underground 2.
Oh, nice.
Racing at its finest.
Yeah.
2005, on the Nintendo DS, we got Mario Kart DS.
Oh, great Mario. I mean, there really wasn't a bad Mario Kart game.
No, I can't think of one. I can't think of a single Mario Kart game that was bad. And then closing off this week in gaming in 2006 and on the Nintendo GameCube, good way to close it out, we got Lara Croft Tomb Raider Legend.
Ooh, okay.
And that is this week in gaming.
Nice stuff. Nice stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, it's the 16th anniversary makes me want to break out the, well, I may have to do it on, well, no, I can't find my Wii. Actually, I do still have my GameCube. Just got to find it. It's stored away somewhere. Makes me want to break out the GameCube, and because I definitely have the games. I just saw them recently.
Yeah, well, my GameCube is hooked up in one of the 22 active systems I have, so I can just pull them out and play some games. Right? You want to play some games with the cats?
There you go. That'd be weird. You can stream that.
I can do a 3-player game with myself and 2 cats.
I'm sure it's been done before.
Wouldn't surprise me.
All right, Ant, you got anything coming up this week?
This week I am off to sunny Orlando for a few days.
All right.
For some work-related stuff. And outside of that, I got nothing. And then I got to prep for my trip to New York.
Yes, and your balloon handling, you got to practice.
Yes, I must practice my handling.
Yeah, I got nothing.
What about you?
No cons coming up. I got a hockey game coming up, so I'm kind of laying low.
Boo Islanders. Boo.
You wait till they move to Belmont.
Oh yeah. Well, good. They need to leave Brooklyn. They don't belong there.
Oh, come on.
They don't belong there.
It's a worthwhile arena.
Worthless is the word.
Yeah, no, kind of laying low this week. Nothing happening yet. Couple weeks going down to Florida, so see how that goes. And yeah, but besides that,
everybody needs to play some GameCube games this week, just in honor of our special.
Absolutely.
One thing to not play this week would be the Virtual Boy, because it is the worst system ever made. #VB sucks. Larry, I don't believe there was ever a Mario Kart game on Virtual Boy for a good reason.
No, it didn't.
#VB sucks.
It didn't lend to a good series.
No, I don't think Super Smash Brothers made its way to the Virtual Boy because #VB sucks.
I am not a fan of Super Smash Brothers.
I don't think Legend of Zelda made it to the Virtual Boy because #VB sucks.
Mario made it to the Virtual Boy.
Yep.
And Wario.
And the Virtual Boy still promptly died.
I'll resurrect it.
#VB sucks.
So be on the lookout. Remember, you want to listen to all the shows here on the More of the Same network. Not only here at the Retro Gamers.
This one's the best one.
Listen, it's the A show.
That's right.
And I don't say that on each and every other show. The Better Half drops every other Wednesday. We got a new episode coming up actually tomorrow from when this drops. And then every Thursday, the Yin and the Yang podcast. The Yin and Yang podcast, myself and Anthony Chu. The Better Half, myself and Frank Messina. And beyond that, with the Retro Gamers, with all, actually, the podcasts. You can search for all of them wherever you listen to podcasts. With the Retro Gamers on iHeartRadio, on Amazon Alexa, all the shows on YouTube as well. Check it all out. We've been doing really good. Everyone listening, you guys and gals out there, we appreciate all the support. Truly, truly, truly.
Yes, thank you very much for listening to me.
To us.
Oh, I'm sorry, to us.
I think now he means him and his cats.
Well, yeah, I mean, my cats are now like the co-stars.
They really are. The ones, the white ones, just hanging out in the background, getting ready to fall asleep.
Yeah, she looks like she's going to fall asleep sitting up because that's how interesting we are.
With the Retro Gamers, check us out on our website, theretrogamers.com, Instagram at @the_retrogamers, and of course, facebook.com/retrogamers podcast. With that, we got another week. Ant, enjoy the week. I will talk to you when I talk to you.
You do the same, and the next time I talk to you, it'll be in person.
I will. Peace.